Good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. It's my Monday. Oh well. I had an okay weekend. Nothing, I didn't do much. Just my normal, stuff I normally do. Get out and do my walks. Eat my healthy food. Be sober. There's not a lot of time to do much in just 2 days. And those days I also need to use to rejuvenate myself by resting, and that's what I did. I rested a lot, got some good sleep, and here we are back to the grind again. That's my life, man. And but it's all good. I'm there's times I complain a lot, and because why. I don't even need to say why. So I just need to try to keep my head in a more positive frame of mind, because I do have a lot to be grateful for, because I have everything I need to survive. Okay. Speaking of having things you need to survive, I wanted to touch on the shutdown we got going on with the government. It's ridiculous that they're shutting this government down that we pay for. Okay, they still take that money though, don't they? But they don't want to open the government because these Democrats are hell-bent on giving our tax money to illegals by way of like health care, okay? And it's not right. It's not right, man. They need to stop. They need to open up the damn government, because there's people that are not going to have food here real soon, because their EBT is not going to be reloaded. Okay? And that's not cool, man, because their system that they've been running has allowed a lot of people to get on EBT, food stamps, okay? When I used to be homeless, I was on EBT for a few years, actually, okay? But when I got my job, I cleaned myself up, I got responsible, I ended my EBT. I shut it off, okay? Okay, I got enough money to take care of myself. I called them up and said, okay, cancel my EBT, because I don't want to take money from my fellow citizens if I don't have to, okay? Because that's not right. But there's people out there that actually depend on it. And like, the point I'm trying to make is the system allowed people to get dependent on it, okay? And when the system allowed these people to get dependent on it, this shutdown is going to literally make people starve or not have food, okay? Most of these people have enough fat on their bodies, they're probably not going to starve for a month. But I'm just saying that, the system allowed people to get dependent on EBT, okay, food stamps, and to just take that away, without, much notice is a little bit messed up, okay? There's two things that, Americans should never go without, and that's food and water, okay? Doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, that should be always available for everybody. So, they're going to cut this EBT off people. Hey, there's people that milk it. Yeah, there's people that live on the government supplements, right? That's their career. They just don't work, and they live on food stamps and government housing. But the government has allowed them to do that, okay? So if these people are getting in a bind and are going to be hungry, it's the government's fault, man. It's the government's fault for allowing them to be like that, okay? Some people, they can't work, okay? Some people screwed themselves up with drugs, alcohol, mental illness, whatever it might be, irresponsible behavior. Regardless what it is, they still shouldn't have to go hungry, okay? So I hope that, the government shutdown, they figure something out for people, because love them or hate them, they're still people, and nobody should go hungry, because there's plenty of food, okay? There's plenty of food. But what pisses me off are these same people that are threatening to steal, okay? That's not cool either, okay? That's bullshit. But really, when someone's hungry and they need food and they can't give food, what are they supposed to do? Right? So, but threatening and saying you're going to do that, that's bullshit. But when you're actually hungry and you need food and you're going to, fall apart, you're probably going to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? But to say you're going to do it prematurely and letting the world know you're going to do it, that's pretty dumb, okay? That's pretty dumb. So anyways, it sounds like the government shutdown is going to cause EBT to be shut down. They're not going to get their food stamps, okay? Their little food credit cards. So these people need to actually get off their asses and figure something out to get some food. This is the time, okay? And it gets easy, as an experienced person that had EBT, you do get used to having that. You don't think it's ever going to stop. You feel like it just becomes like normal. You don't appreciate it because you just start expecting it, And that's what's happened to these people. They got used to being on that and allowed to be taken care of by the government. But, you can't rely on the government all the time, man. You just can't rely on them, obviously, So, I don't feel sorry for them, but at the same time, nobody should go hungry, even if they're an asshole that, talks a lot of smack. If they don't get there, sometimes a little suffering will maybe change the way they think, but it's kind of a hard lesson when it comes to that, because it's food, okay? You need, just because they got used to being on EBT doesn't mean they have to put their health in danger because, it got cut off. But it is a little bit like it's a little bit of tough love, and sometimes that can go a long ways. It's like a part of me, wants these people to appreciate it more and maybe learn a lesson that, they shouldn't rely on the government so much. But at the same time, I think the government needs to take responsibility and still figure out a way to help these people out so they don't do anything like stupid, That's kind of where I'm at with it, It's the government's fault, though. I mean, they allowed these people to get addicted to the freebies, It's their fault. Most of them, you can't blame them, really. Who likes to work? Really? I don't, But I have to live with myself, These people, I guess they don't mind it. I did. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sponge off my fellow citizens, okay? I have a conscience. Some of these people may have a conscience, but they got in so deep and they got in so reliant on it that now they got themselves into a situation where they're relying on the government for just food and, water, stuff that just should be there automatically, you know. What other creature on the planet has to go earn money for just food and water, okay? Just humans, just saying, okay? You know. So I hope that the government figures out something, or someone figures out something to help these people continue to have food, because a lot of them have kids. The kids shouldn't have to go hungry because it's not their fault. It's not their fault. And you know, I don't think the parents should have to go hungry either, because the government allowed them to get, you know, reliant on that. So that's my take on it. I wanted to vent on it because I see a lot of people venting online that, you know, if they get their EBT cut off, they're just going to go into supermarkets and just start stealing. Well, you know what? If you do that, you're just messing it up for everybody else, and that's not cool. Okay, that's not cool. You mess it up for other people that pay the money so you can have it, you know, that's not right, and it's going to cause a lot of problems. And it's not fair to the stores either, because they could just the stores could just close down and tell everybody to F off, which they might. And then we're all out because of, you know, idiotic people. So anyways, I'm here. I got to serve my time. It's my Monday. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great Saturday. We'll catch you later. See ya.